Garden Report is brought to you by Prize Picks and the Game Time app.
Hey, Bobby Manning here. Welcome to a practice edition of the Garden Report. Media Day in the past. Now we got to see many of the Celtics on the floor, talk to some guys we didn't. At Media Day, Payton Pritchard, Xavier Tillman, who I was interested to see how he recovered from his knee surgery. And like we knew, swelling, a major issue for him last year. He said after every game he was dealing with it. Here's how he recovered from the surgery in his words.
Yeah, it was the main reason I was out for different periods of the season last year. My knee would just swell up really bad after a game. But it's been recovering really well, like as far as like my range of motion, as far as my strength and stuff like that, and just being able to have a hard day and not have it swell back up. So it's been progressing really well.
Are you ready to go?
Oh yeah, I'm in it now. I'm in it. I feel good.
So I found it interesting, the things he's looking to improve on this year. Health, everything's staying available, and then they'll go from there. So that's good if they're able to get him healthy. It also leaves questions about how he's going to fit in here. And he said they're all going to be in the mix to replace or fill in for Kristaps Porzingis while he's out. But I thought there were some challenges for him last year, fitting into the offense, shooting. The defense is great, but if he's going to earn minutes, it's got to be some progression in terms of his offensive fit here, and of course, staying healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that people were kind of curious about Xavier Tillman, and we discussed it a lot of times last year, like why isn't he playing more? Why isn't he being utilized? And the more time passes and the more we learn, I think the more I realize how much of an injury-related explanation there was for a lot of the limitations that we saw, his minutes, his availability. And so, yeah, he was very open about that today. I'm sure the fact that he now has a contract guaranteed, he maybe feels a little bit more inclined to speak on it too. I don't think anybody wants to make it a big thing as they're about to go into free agency.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
I also think, like, how did they get Xavier Tillman on a minimum deal? Like, this is probably part of what lowered his value in the market, is knowing the fact that he's had these kind of knee issues. And it sounds like he's on the right track and that he's making a recovery, but it is kind of good to know that, as one of the people that's meant to replace Porzingis in the early days, that he is dealing with a little something and that it might be a little bit of an issue.
Yeah, and we got to look at Jalen out there on the floor. Jason, I was excited to see what the shot looks like. Not a major difference from what I could see. Definitely a little more condensed. Maybe not as much of like a hitch as he follows through. But I was looking at some of the older videos compared to what it is now, and it doesn't look substantial. Like, it's not a complete overhaul for sure. It definitely looks like it's just a little bit more tighter, and there's not as much body motion involved with it. Like he talked about the leg motion, shoulder position, all that.
Yeah.
I didn't get a good look at the hand placement, but didn't look too different to me. Did anything look different?
Not really. It looked a little quicker, but it's also hard to gauge because sometimes there's like the hesitation during the games where like that's not the shot mechanism, but it's the hesitation. But it did look a little quicker to me. I mean, they were going in, the ones that I saw at least. Not that they weren't last year when we watched him in practice. I feel like he generally makes his shots, but I'm sure somebody will break down this film side by side from the clips that were posted today and see if there were any other things that they picked up on.
Any other takeaways from first practice here?
It was just funny. It was like everybody was in the exact same spot that they always are in. Derek White's in one side with the assistant coaches. He was doing his trick shot. Actually, it wasn't a trick shot today. It was like a game of trying to balance the ball in one of the letters. And Jaylen Brown was working with like 4 coaches on making reads, something that we saw him do pretty much every practice. Tatum was at his usual practice basket. And so it kind of felt like we picked up right where we left off last year. Obviously, we didn't see everybody. We didn't see Al or Drew, but those guys usually are not as around after practice. So that was kind of normal. And then obviously Lonnie Walker was getting a lot of shots up as well, and he has a smooth-looking shot. I feel like when you are watching everybody kind of all next to each other, some guys stand out, and he's in that category of players that, like, just purely watching, he has a really nice-looking shot.
We got a ton to say about Lonnie Walker coming up. The only other interesting thing from today, I thought, the best quote from yesterday, Jaylen Brown talking about Detroit and Pritchard and Hauser and how they can win games easily there. I asked Pritchard about that, and he had a pretty buttoned-up answer, but here's what he said.
I feel like he's just giving a compliment to how deep our team is. I don't think he's trying to shoot at the other team. He's just trying to give a compliment to guys coming off the bench that don't necessarily, get to do that on a nightly basis. But it just shows us how deep our team is, and everybody's ready to step up if an injury did happen or anything like that.
Yeah, they know they can do it. I'm sure Pritchard wasn't thrilled they actually said it and put that out there because he's going to have to go and cash that check.
Right.
But we've seen Pritchard do it a million times, and he looked good today, really chiseled, skinny, and ready to go. And obviously there's been a lot of praise for his early camp performance as well from Horford and others.
Yeah, I always find Pritchard so good at answering those kinds of questions. Like, he really never misspeaks. He always has the right PR answer. So, yeah, he kind of explained that one. And I think he does view it as a compliment that, I think he feels like he is a player that could go for 30, right? So it was a little bit of a shot at the Pistons, but also I think reflective of the fact that this is a bench unit that includes guys that feel like they could be NBA starters, and Pritchard is the head of that snake.
We also heard from Lonnie Walker today. We'll talk about that in another video. Go check that out and show some love to our sponsors, Game Time. Use the code CLNS, and Prize Picks CLNS as well. Both powering the Garden Report and CLNS Media. There's been a practice edition of the Garden Report. Noah Dalzell, You Got Boston, and SB Nation. And I'm Bobby Manning. We will see you back at practice tomorrow. Hey, Bobby Manning here. If you made it this far, you probably enjoyed this video, so subscribe, turn on notifications, and check out our social media platforms at Celtics CLNS.